KBD67 Lite is one of the most popular budget DIY kits in the hobby of mechanical keyboards. But I wanted to see for myself if this was worth the money and worth the hype. I also wanted to see how this thing fares to a beginner. So this review is strictly just what you get in the box, no mods. Is the KBD67 Lite the ultimate budget beginner board? Let's find out. First off, great packaging. Not that it really matters, but a $100 keyboard coming with an entire carrying case is pretty solid. This is great if you move around a lot like me and don't want to damage your keyboard. Inside, you get screws, KBD fan stabs, stabilizer pads, silicone bumpers, a tool for the case screws, the case, plate, silicone, quote, gasket, the PCB, and a thin piece of case foam. Oh, and how could I forget this completely forgettable USB cable, which KBD fans should honestly forget and knock off $3 from the price. Honestly, they should just include a straight cable. It would look so much better. I also bought some D65 gaskets that I used to make this board more flexy. If you want to see that video, please consider subscribing. Before diving into the build, I tested the PCB to make sure I didn't have any dead spots. All good. I decided to take the keycaps and switches for my ID80, so I got some Akko ASA white on black keycaps and some whipped creams for the build. For the stock stabilizers, KBD fans have included their own stabs. These are not good. The housings are just not tight at all. Here's a listen. No, it's so bad. Oh, this is gonna sound terrible. I think if you're gonna get this board for cheap, it's worth investing in some better stabs like Duroc V2s. I wanted to know how the KBD fan stabs would sound without lubing or anything, assuming a beginner doesn't have any lubing experience. And, well, here it is. Oh my god. Absolutely horrible. Yeah, I could not bring myself to build this entire board without lubing these stabs, so of course, Thocks 205 grade 0 on the housings and dielectric grease on the wires. And trust me, don't go easy on the lube. The first step to build this board is to put the stabilizer pads onto the PCB. I'm a bit torn on these. I've done something very similar with some leftover switch films material. To me, it kind of makes the shorter stab keys feel too mushy, yet feels oddly nice on the spacebar. If you have a preference, let me know down below. I feel really odd for liking them only on the spacebar. But these came with the kit, so I'm leaving them in for review purposes. If you have this board, you can decide what you like. One thing I did like about the stabilizers is definitely the stabilizer gaskets. These things have adhesive on them, which makes them way easier to install than the washers that come with Durocs, for example. My stabs were still a bit rattly, but I ended up fixing it later. Here's an initial sound test of the stabs. Anyway, let's keep building. So after we tested the stabs, we put the silicone dampener / gasket on and screwed on the plate. Now it's time for switches. I know I just made a video roasting creams, but they're all I had on hand at the time, so they'll have to do. Mine are lubed with Thocks 205 grade 0 and filmed. Now we make sure to press the PCB plate switch combo all the way into the bottom of the case. The kit also came with these baby silicone nubs that go in the top half of the case, so don't forget those. Now it's finally time to screw the case together and put on the rubber feet. I put on my Akko white on black keycaps and we're all ready to go. Plug her in. Look at that RGB glow that I will eventually turn off. My stabs still sounded pretty bad, so I, quote, plugged the butt, as they say, aka adding more dielectric grease to where the wire sits inside the stabilizer without having to take the whole thing apart. Here's a sound test of the board. Overall, this is a killer deal. If you were like me and got it on Black Friday, the kit was only $99 pre-tax and shipping. I probably spent another $100 on keycaps and switches, so overall this board could be anywhere from $130 to $300 depending on what you stock it with. No joke, Jaywick yellows with $10 keycaps, if you were really in a pinch, might only be roughly $150 altogether. If we're being honest, this really isn't a very flexy board. It's a gasket mount via the silicone dampener. But silicone is just never going to be as flexy as a pour-on gasket, especially since the PCB and the plate don't have any flex cuts. So don't buy this board if you're looking for flex. In that case, you might be better off with an ICKY68 Aurora. But I am confident that I'll be able to mod this thing into a flexy beast. More on that later. The board is super light, and I don't think that the plastic case is too cheap looking. There's a bit of texture to the plastic, but it's not bad. This isn't as smooth as like a frosted acrylic tofu though. It's also not as hollow sounding thanks to the foam and the silicone and the fact that the case is plastic. Boards that are aluminum like the ID80 and the tofu need a lot of sound dampening mods to not sound so pingy. The RGB lights are pretty bright if you're into that, and they have a ton of different modes. This is also VIA compatible, and I've had fun mapping the board to work for me. The board's definitely deeper sounding than other boards at this price point, and you could definitely make it thockier by adding some SA keycaps and doing a few mods. In terms of the modding, I'm working on a video where I show you exactly how to make this thing better for pretty cheap. I guess you'll have to wait for my mod video. The board's definitely deeper sounding than other boards at this price point, but I think it might have gone a little too far. The silicone kind of causes the whole board to be really muted, and I'm worried that this would take a lot of character out of a lot of different switches. If you're interested in a way to mod this board to take out the silicone completely, I am working on a video on how to do that by swapping out the gaskets with D65 gaskets. At the end of the day, at Black Friday price, this was a steal. Hopefully by the time you see this, the KBD67 Lite will still be in stock. If you're thinking of grabbing it, I say do it. This is a moderately beginner-friendly build, but the stabs will definitely need work or replacing. This thing has my blessing though. I hope this video helped you decide if the board's right for you. If you got this far, thank you. I'd sincerely appreciate it if you could drop a like. I'm still relatively new to the YouTube game, so if you're looking forward to what I've got, please consider subscribing. Anyways, don't be a stranger.